Once upon a time, in a small but busy city, there lived a young couple named David and Clara. They had fallen in love years ago when they had nothing, just dreams, laughter, and promises. David worked as a mechanic in a small garage. He was hardworking, humble, and honest. Clara worked as a receptionist at a local store. Life was simple but not easy. They lived in a tiny apartment where sometimes the ceiling leaked when it rained, but they always laughed it off. They dreamed together of building a better life, owning a small home, and maybe one day starting a family. But as time passed, things got harder. David's small job barely paid the bills. Sometimes there was no money left for food, and Clara began to grow tired of living that way. She loved David, or at least she thought she did, but poverty has a way of testing love. Every day, she watched rich people walk into her workplace. Women wearing diamonds, men driving shiny cars, couples eating at expensive restaurants. She started to wonder what it would be like to live like them, to never worry about money again. One day, a rich businessman named Richard Campbell walked into the store where Clara worked. He was older, confident, and charming. He wore fine suits and smelled of wealth and power. He noticed Clara's beauty and started visiting more often. At first, it was small talk, just greetings and smiles. But soon, he began buying her expensive gifts, jewelry, perfume, and dresses. He told her she deserved a better life, one that David could never give her. At first, Clara refused the gifts. But slowly, her heart began to shift. The more she compared her life with David's struggles to Richard's wealth, the more she started to resent her own husband. David, however, never stopped loving her. He worked long hours, often coming home tired and dirty, but still smiling at her. "Just a little more time, Clara," he would say. "I'll make things better. I promise." But she had already made up her mind. One night, after another argument about money, Clara finally said the words that broke David's heart. "David, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of being poor. I deserve better. I want a life where I don't have to worry about tomorrow." David's face went pale. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Clara, you said you loved me. You said we'd go through everything together." Tears filled her eyes, but her voice was cold. "I thought I could, but love doesn't pay the bills. I'm leaving." And just like that, she packed her bags and walked out. David begged her to stay, but she didn't look back. She went to live with Richard, the rich businessman. At first, her new life felt like heaven. She moved into a big mansion with sparkling chandeliers, marble floors, and servants waiting to serve her every wish. She wore beautiful clothes, attended grand parties, and finally had everything she had dreamed of. But slowly, she started noticing things. Richard was not as gentle as she thought. He was controlling, proud, and arrogant. He often reminded her that she was lucky he married her. He made her feel small whenever she disagreed with him. Meanwhile, David was broken. His world had fallen apart. For weeks, he couldn't eat or sleep. But he remembered her words, "I want a better life." He decided to make something of himself. He worked day and night, saving every coin, learning about business, investing wisely, and helping others who believed in him. Slowly, he started his own small auto company. His honesty, dedication, and humility attracted people to him. Within years, that small company grew into King Tech Motors, one of the biggest automobile manufacturers in the country. David became a millionaire, not just rich, but respected. While his star rose, Clara's world began to crumble. Richard's business faced huge losses. He had made risky investments that went wrong. Soon, the mansion had to be sold. Servants left, cars were taken away, and Clara watched her beautiful world collapse. Richard became bitter and angry. He blamed everyone but himself. One night, in a fit of rage, he shouted, "If you hadn't pushed me for more luxury, I wouldn't be broke." Clara cried, realizing how wrong she had been. The man she had left everything for was not her savior. He was her punishment. They moved into a small rented apartment. Richard tried to find work, but no company wanted to hire an old businessman who had lost everything. One morning, he came across a job advertisement. It said, "King Tech Group of Companies is hiring." He decided to apply, desperate for any chance. When he arrived at the massive King Tech headquarters, he was shocked by how grand it was. Tall glass buildings, hundreds of employees, and cars bearing the name King Tech Motors. He was called into the interview room. A few managers asked questions, and everything seemed fine until one of them said, "You'll need final approval from our CEO, Mr. David King." Richard froze. That name sounded familiar, but he brushed it off, thinking it was a coincidence. When the door opened, David walked in, elegant, confident, calm. Richard's face turned white. He stuttered, unable to speak. David recognized him instantly, the man who took his wife years ago. But instead of anger, David smiled politely. "Mr. Campbell, it's good to meet you. Please have a seat." Richard couldn't look him in the eyes. At that moment, Clara was at home, still unaware of who owned King Tech. Later that day, Richard came home pale and shaken. Clara asked what happened, but he only muttered, "You wouldn't believe it. Your ex-husband, he's the owner of the company I went to for a job." Clara felt her heart stop. She couldn't breathe. "David," she whispered. "Yes," Richard said bitterly. "He's richer than I ever was." For days, Clara couldn't sleep. Memories of her life with David filled her mind, his kindness, his sacrifices, his words. Just a little more time, Clara. One morning, she decided to see him. She dressed simply and went to King Tech headquarters. When she arrived, she felt small compared to the glass towers that bore his name. The receptionist asked her name and told her to wait. When David came out, he was surprised but calm. "Clara," he said softly. She burst into tears. "David, I came to say I'm sorry. I made the worst mistake of my life. I thought money was everything, but now I see what I lost." David looked at her quietly for a long time. Then he said, "Clara, I loved you with all my heart. I wanted to give you the world, but you left before we could build it together." She fell to her knees, crying. "Please forgive me." He gently helped her up. "I forgave you long ago," he said. "But life taught me something. True love doesn't live in luxury or gold. It lives in loyalty, patience, and trust. You taught me that lesson the hard way." Clara left the office, her heart shattered, knowing she could never get back what she lost. David watched her go, feeling no anger, only peace. He had found strength through pain and success through perseverance. Years later, David married again, a humble, kind woman who loved him for who he was, not for what he owned. They lived happily, not because of money, but because of love built on honesty. As for Clara, she spent her remaining days quietly, often walking past King Tech buildings, whispering to herself, "That could have been my life, if only I hadn't let greed blind me." And so the story ends with a simple truth. Money can buy comfort, but it can never buy peace. Greed can open doors, but it can also close hearts. And love, true love, only stays where loyalty lives.